Okay, hello everyone. So here we have, well, you already know Tino Gosninski, aka Syreno, that today he joined me to talk about a very fun deck that is Syreno de Ur-Dragon. He already won a tournament the last weekend with this deck. So I believe that dragons is a tribe that a lot of people love it. So if you can take them to a cEDH tournament, it's great. So I believe that probably this is the more competitive dragon archetype that we have in cEDH. So it's gonna be fun. So thank you, Tino, for joining me today. It's a pleasure as always.
Yes, thanks for inviting me again. I'm glad to be back. And I love to talk about this deck because, to be honest, I'm usually known for bringing Kinnan to every event I go to. And I've been changing it up just because this deck, when I tried it, it's been so much fun for me. I really, really like it.
Yeah, so the first thing is that this deck pop up in the radar like a couple of months ago for and the pilot I forgot the name, but it's also is from Team Zen, I guess.
Yes,
you are in Team Zen, so
yes.
So it's I forgot the name of the
Dave
player.
Kaiser from some state of the USA. I'm not sure where. I'm sorry, Dave.
yeah, and that this deck pop up. The people say, okay, so maybe here is something cool. Here in Chile we have David Juan, that is a player that immediately take it and start to play it, and he performs really well. And then I start to look at different tournaments, and I see that the deck start to perform very well in different tournaments. And it's very complicated because to imagine that, because it's a five cost, but it's a rainbow 5 cost dragon that is very powerful. But okay, so we need to dig a little in the deck list to understand why this deck works, because with this cost we have other commanders with this cost, but this one works. So what is the difference from other things?
Well, so the deck has quite a lot of evolution behind it. I remember when I got into cEDH that this deck was mainly known for going for a Colossal Grave Reaver and Hoarding Broodlord style combo, which is like the longest time the deck was built like this. And basically you were just playing 5 colors, and you played this combo that was like quite mana intensive, and in the end it's like, in a way, like Tassigo or something like this, where you do all this cool stuff just to end up at casting Peer into the Abyss on yourself and probably eating a counter spell. But what has happened now is that with the release of some new cards that and a new build that I think Dave was like one of the first people to do this, where you don't really play these like combo lines or clunky dragons that are like a toolbox. For example, he used to play Dragon Lord Dromoka, which was one of the cards that always used to see a lot of play in this deck.
Yes.
Which, due to the release of Plismali, which I will get to later, it doesn't really see play anymore. But what sets this deck apart from like other decks that try to do its thing is that with Cyan you can basically, what your commander is, it's like a backup plan or an outlet for a lot of mana, because you're basically putting a bunch of different commanders in your command zone, and you can always choose the one you need at the moment. For example, this deck always gets called 5-color Kobold sometimes, which is like, even if you're not doing the full dragon combo that still exists in the deck, just when you have Smothering Tithe or Stormkin Artist on the board with like 10 treasures and you make your commander into a kobold, that already makes a lot of value and is usually enough to at least get you somewhere in the game where you were not nowhere before.
Yes.
And also it's gotten so compact that you don't really play like a dedicated Cyan deck completely. Like if you can see here, we still play like Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, we still play Underworld Breach and Necropotence, because we can basically build a 5-color good stuff deck without really paying any costs. I think the biggest like drawbacks to playing Cyan in the command zone is you lose Fierce Guardianship and Deflecting Sword.
Yes.
Because your commander just won't be out every game. They're not like, yes, they are free counter spells still, but in the end, if you really need the counter spell, it basically still costs 3 or 5 mana, because you either need to get Cyan out or you need to hardcast it, which makes those not really work. And also you can't really run Ad Nauseam. Like you can, but it's a lot worse than usually in 5 color, because you have all these dragons in your deck that cost like 7 mana, and especially if like me, you're also playing Commandeer, there's just a lot of high cost cards that you really don't want to hit off your Ad Nauseam.
So okay, so we have this 5-color commander. And I don't know, for me, for example, it's really important that the commanders, I mean, even if it is the plan B, basically contribute to something. Because, for example, now we have in Marvel this Nick Fury that is like 1-drop white, but for me, it's like, probably could be good, but it contributes zero to the game plan. So basically, it's an enabler of free spells and and also it's the thing that is a dragon. We love dragons. It's part of the fantasy, and that is very cool. The other thing is that the ability is a low cost. It's 2 mana, genetic mana. So basically, you can just tap Sol Ring for that, and you have an activation. So that is very good. And we will move immediately to the difference category. But I believe that, as you say, and probably this is in general for the decks, is like if you reduces the synergies, the deck is better. So basically, it's like an equilibrium between synergy and good stuff. So basically, here you sacrifice a little of synergies for more good stuff that basically give you different plans.
Yes.
So for example, in the creature we saw Thassa's Oracle. So basically, we can win just doing the classic things, or we have Underworld Breach. But then we have the unique lines that are doing through dragons with Copper, then Corvo, and then Prismari. So that give basically to the deck a very solid plan for different kind of games, different moments of the game also. So one thing that I saw in the list is like you have a lot of dorks. So basically, you want turn 1 dork. So Build Paradise, the Red Shaman, Elves. We have the Hierarchs, Noble, and the Noble. But one, and probably is related with Necropotence, is the absence of the Lighted Halfling.
Yes.
So I imagine that is that. Yeah, just tell me.
Yeah. The Lighted Halfling has been a card I tested initially a bit when I made the list. The thing is just that, like, it does cast a lot of cards. If you look here, like, for example, at Clotho, Tataru, Kinnan when it was still in the list, Cabbage Merchant, all these cards, Ragavan. But what it's really done is it, like, sort of only worked if you had one of those cards that worked with it, or you kept a Cyan hand, something like this. it's like not that great if you have a Rhystic Study hand or a Necropotence hand. So that's mainly the reason. Like all the dogs we have in the list now are like pretty uniquely good at doing every game plan that the deck wants to do, except Noble Hierarch, which I think is like probably the worst dog I feel in the list, because it basically doesn't really cast Necropotence. It's still good enough because it makes 3 colors, but I feel like the worst of them. But it's the whole theme of the deck in a way, with all these mana dogs and all that stuff, is like you really want all your cards to just work as much as they can.
Yeah. I was curious because it's true that is clunky for hands with Necro or Rhystic. In Rhystic, it will depend of the other mana source that you have, but for Necro for sure. But I was thinking that in the, like, for example, as you say, you try to activate with the Ancient Copper Dragon, and they bounce the dragon. So basically, it's like you activate, you have the Ancient in the graveyard, and they bounce the dragon. You lose the possibility to have the treasures. But then with the Delighted Halfling in the mid game or in the late game, for example, you can put a curveball that is impossible to counter. It have some scenarios that the card will shine for sure.
Yes.
But when you visualize your deck, for you it's better to have the chance to Necro turn 1 than this chance that eventually you can cast the dragon, and it can be countered. And I say that because you can Pyro or Red Elemental, the Science. So sometimes I think I am afraid that is the similar situation with Kefka, that in some pod the people panic a lot when they saw these commanders. So basically it's like you put the Scion on the stack, and basically they just Pyro, Red Elemental your dragon, and you basically left behind a lot. So that was when I was seeing your list, I was thinking that maybe sacrifice the Necro plan, cut in Elf, and put in the Lighted. So what are your thoughts? Because this is a little related with your experience with the deck.
Yes. I there's a lot of cards I feel like that fall in the same category of Halfling. As you said, you can like hardcast the dragons with it, but what accomplishes the same in a way are cards like Shifting Woodlands or Noxious Revival, because they basically do the same. For example, once you put your coward in your graveyard and you get stopped, for example. If you have a Shifting Woodlands, you can activate Shifting Woodlands to make a coward again, which also works great. But I feel like the cards like by themselves don't really do enough to warrant the slot. The Light Halfling is definitely the closest one of all of those cards, because just being a mana dog is like good enough in a way. I have to say though that like most of the time, except for Prismari, all the dragons are also hard castable. Of course, you don't want them in your hand, but if like I had a hand in one of my tournaments that was in the finals where I had turn 2 Ancient Copper Dragon from hand, which ended up being very good, not because I actually got to connect with the Ancient Copper Dragon, but because the table had to deal with the Ancient Copper Dragon, like spent the entire turn cycle to deal with it, as I was in seat 1, and they couldn't present a win on turn 2, and then on turn 3 I could just cast Underworld Breach and nobody had any interaction left because they all used it to get rid of the Copper Dragon. And that's basically something that I found out with a lot of these cards. I want cards like Stormkin Artist or like Fairy Mastermind in my deck much rather than these like cards connected to one plan specifically, because in a way all of my cards just work with one another. It's the same with like I probably should have prefaced this at the start. Like, why does Prismari actually almost always win the game when it comes down in this deck? It's because unlike when you put Prismari in your command zone, the way you win once you have your instant sorceries have Storm is you can cast your cards like Veil of Summer, Mana Morphos, Demonic Tutor, Besiege the Mirror, all this stuff with Storm, and it just naturally works out that they win the game most of the time. Or Crop Rotation, all your riches, they make a whole lot of mana, Mana Morphos, all these things, which is like really good because it just naturally works in a way. And as you said, the risk of the whole thing is casting your Scion and it exploding. But I feel like that's also something that like needs to be said, as you said in the beginning. The Scion is not your plan A. You're not looking at your first hand and thinking, oh, how can this cast my commander? Because you're not a commander-centric deck. Like, if I find land, Imp Seal, Sol Ring, I'm much happier than if I find some rituals that allow me to cast Scion, because what the Scion actually does is, if you're in the mid game or if you're in a low mulligan, it can get you back into the game if you just keep mana in a way. And but people will be aware of that, and also if you cast your Scion on turn 2 and they have a red blast, it's probably going to get countered or blown up. So why not? Why not? This, I mean, yes.
It's probably the play, but as you say, I mean, whatever I have, it's not my plan A. So basically, that is very true. The other thing is that in your list, you basically just keep Ranger Captain. So it and probably is related with the timing of your win attempts, because you just have Ranger, you don't have Voice, you don't have a Voliture, but for these kind of decks, is probably the win is better with a Silence and with a Veil of Summer, because Prismari.
This is actually something that like I had to I talked to Dave quite a bit when the Prismari initially got added, and why I cut Dragonlord Remoker, for example, as well, is in a way you have a silence effect in the command zone, because making your Scion into a Prismari basically makes your spells uncounterable, because they can probably not counter 5 copies of Silence or the Veil of Summer or something like this. So you don't really need the like typical Voice of Victory or Grand Abolisher type effect, because you just have it like for a lot more mana, but basically you have access to it at all times. The Ranger Captain is sort of my 100th card in the list right now. I mainly use it at this point to in pots where I am like the slowest deck and I need a way to like guarantee to not die. I really like it because it can like grab Esper Sentinel or Mockingbird and like sort of slow the game down, and it really works in your favor. But I also don't see that it's like a must play card. It's you can definitely play without. I personally would, for example, never put Grand Abolisher or Voice of Victory in this deck, but I think like Ranger or maybe even Squelcher might be playable. But I think the traditional silence effects are just not that good, because they're quite redundant with what your commander does in a way.
Yeah, that's interesting, because, for example, this maybe could be replaced by Orim Chant.
Yes.
Yeah.
The difficulty I've had with Orim's Chant specifically, I know Dave is like also playing that card and is very high on it, is let's say I get to the Prismari board state and I cast Orim's Chant. How that usually works is there's a Storm trigger, they let it resolve, and then there are Storm copies targeting each of my opponents. And a lot of times when this happened, what happened to me was that in response, my opponents took the top Orim's Chant and redirected it to me, which is like, usually you can still win after that, but it's like quite annoying because in a way, what your storm instant sorceries do is they can't be interacted with, but the storm orange chant can still very easily be interacted with because it sort of still loses to one redirection spell, where like usual like silence doesn't, because they need exactly Mindbreak Trap or Fluster Storm with enough copies to counter it.
Yes. But I imagine that at the end, it's not. I mean, yeah, it can happen, but it's weird because if you are doing your thing with the treasures first, you basically with Kerbal basically have a bunch of cards, a bunch of mana. So basically you can fight back.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I am agree that in some scenarios it could be like if you are very tight on cards. I mean, if the dice give you a low number and you're very tight on cards.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? This friend that also played, David Juan, we were playing a practice pod, and he just get a one. From the... That was fun. Yeah. Okay, so well, I mean, in the terms of creatures, we don't have to explain a lot of these choices because. We load the Mockingbird, Ragavan, the Gavage Merchant, Tinderwell.
Yes.
So, there are cards that are, basically establishing 5 colors decks. And probably many decks. One thing that I was thinking was about that this deck sometimes is very. It needs a lot of the flash enables, so you are in 2. That is Bali and Born. But what happened about Hi-Fi? Is the CMC that basically you don't like it?
I think if I wanted more flash enablers, like I'm also on crop rotation, which is also a flash enabler. And in a way, Final Fortune sometimes, but it's kind of a battle. But if I would want another flash enabler, I think I would play Quicken, which is not a great card in most cEDH decks, but it sort of works the same way as a flash enabler in this deck. But what's a bit of the issue with Hi-Fi, for example, in this deck, is that Hi-Fi is really like not good in your early necro push attempts, and it's also not good in your late game push attempts because it's a creature. So let's say you do Corvoid Prismari and cast your Hi-Fi, it's still a single spell that can get countered. Yes, you can fight back, but it's still like that one choke point where you need to resolve your thing, which can sometimes be annoying. Especially if someone tries to go on top or tries to silence you in response or something like this, which is why the like creature flash enablers are a bit worse than the instance. So that's why I'm not on Hi-Fi.
Yeah. It's completely. But also there is when you see the deck, there is things very cool that could happen. I mean, if you have Bit of Paradise and you have Bali, you have produced a lot of mana. And if you have Mockingbird that is copying something interesting that can tap and give you mana. So basically, in a turn that you are basically resolving a Prismari, there is a lot of things going on. Producing mana, copying spells, and all the kind of things. So yeah, I mean, I have these particular questions related with the Hi-Fi. But you're right, you are in crop, so basically it's E-zone, so that is gonna be cool. So we are in sorceries. Here is something very interesting that is Channel the Suns. So this card is for me. When I saw it, is turn 1 Mana Bolt and Lotus Petal is turn 1 Scion.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, this card is gonna keep in the deck, or is like just something that?
No. So initially I was not running this card because I talked to Dave and he said, he tested this like I think pre-ban or sometime and was like, it's kind of okay. But when I played the card, what ended up happening a lot is either on low mulligans. I kept hands that were land, mystical tutor, dark ritual, which usually doesn't really do much because you don't have like a Rograk or something you can sacrifice to besiege the mirror. But especially what it also does is, in a way, it makes, let's say you're going for a Rhystic Study game plan, and you draw a Rite of Flame, Tinder Wall, Mana Vault in the late game from your Rhystic Study, and you untap. And usually you don't have that much to do with all your rituals, because like your payoffs are either tutors or casting your commander. But casting your commander with Rite of Flame, Tinder Wall, Dark Ritual is really hard. But it's quite easy with Channel the Suns. And what I found out happening a lot was like I untapped after casting Rhystic Study with like 10 cards, and I, for example, played Dark Ritual, Exile Label Spirit Guide, cast Channel the Suns, cast my commander, and this is already the point where my opponents need to interact, which is like really good because I've not really spent anything yet, just made mana. It basically converts very well like the amount of cards you have in hand into a Scion if you really wanted to, and it also sort of fixes low mulligans in a way because your other rituals can't really cast Scion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So when I saw the card, I say, okay, this is crazy, but it has sense, and I am agree with all what you say. So in 5-color decks, because the best example probably is Seaside.
Yes.
Seaside, where when sometimes you see they don't have the all the colors sometimes. So basically, these fix you extremely well for a plan that is, as you say, low mulligan, low resources, and this deck just need, if you don't have anything, you just need Scion, one turn, activation, and then you start doing your thing. So basically, it's like you can go from 0 to 100 really fast. So this is interesting card. I just bought one. I bought one yesterday, so I want this for sure. The other thing is the tutors, being the most interesting one, probably Besiege the Mirror. In a 5-color deck, we can say, okay, so it's three black pips, but we have a lot of treasures, we have dorks, but also with Valley Flood color is a way to win with Tata's Oracle. So I believe that is, in that way, is one of the most valuable tutors that we have.
Yep. And also giving Besiege the Mirror Storm is crazy. I've realized this not when I played the deck because it didn't happen that far. Like when I played my first round at the tournament, I ended up winning with Besiege with Storm, and I was like, wait, this is kind of crazy when this actually works, because you're casting Besiege, the first copy finds silence, you cast 10 silences, and then you get everything you want. It's very crazy.
Oh wow, yeah. This deck is if we can compare with something, because this deck is fireworks. So basically, it's like a tally, like all those decks that when wins is crazy and it's great.
It's really winning when it wins.
Yeah. The other thing that probably, but is the. But I understand, because it's the CMC, so you cannot use, for example, it's very difficult to use is Jessica's Will, because you need the commander. But the thing is that, and this could be interesting, but it's probably very niche, is if you use Gilded Drake, you can install, King and whatever, but then it's because I'm pretty sure that Jessica will just say you control a commander.
Okay.
So basically, it's like if you control the commander, basically you can just cast it, and
Yes.
but this is very niche because basically you need to spend one search with Zion in
Yes,
Gilded
yes.
Drake, and that is not what you want. You want to go straight to the sauce. You want to go straight to the Copper Dragon and all the things. Yeah.
Yes. What I also want to say to this is something that I noticed when playing the deck a lot more, is that in a way the Scion hands are the best when you can win with Scion, but you don't have to. So for example, the hands where you cast like turn 2 Scion off of Smothering Tide, off of Channel the Suns, are like okay, but if you cast it turn 3 after your Smothering Tide, it's much better in a way, because then you actually still have a game plan even if the Scion thing doesn't work out in a way. Also, what I wanted to say to Channel the Suns is what I found out quite a lot is it does cast a lot more things than I expected it to. For example, I had a lot of times where I cast Smothering Tide, floating a blue mana or a green mana for counter spell or Veil of Summer, which is something I also hadn't thought about that much before. And it also casts Corvold from hand, which is something that like it does quite well. So it's actually done a lot more than I thought, which is kind of funny because it looks like a very bad card. Just looking at like 4 mana make 5 mana looks a bit dodgy, but yeah. That's good. Yeah, I see. Okay. So in instant we have the absence of free spells like Deflecting Swat, Fierce Guardianship mainly, is what it is because it's the fight. It's not the cost. It's probably the pentacolor casting cost that basically move you out of those spells. But we have interesting things in. We have an offer that basically is a ritual, counter spell and ritual. So I mean, with Prismari you can make a bunch of mana from this. Yes. I did this before. You cast offer, you can't refuse, and then the storm copies counter each other, and you make a lot of mana. It's very cool. It happens rarely, but when it does, it feels great.
Yeah. So you have Burn, you have Brain Freeze, Cavalry Ritual. I mean, you have Commandeer. I didn't see the blue percentage, but it's very high. So basically, it's okay. So Commandeer is another. It's like it's the card of the moment probably. So all the people is playing. You have Crop Rotation that in this deck. It could help you to cast a Rhystic Study, but probably the main use is for Ison.
Yes.
That is basically flash enable, and it's very difficult to fight back an activation of Ison because it's a land activation. You need like a Tip Bind, a Stifle, things like that. Then you have Dark Ritual, Demonic, Dispel, Enlightened to Final Fortune. This is generic counters. And then you have Lindo's Spout. So I imagine that this is probably related because if you are short in treasures and you have to guarantee that the Corvold works, this is going to help you a lot.
Yes. Basically, what I found out when testing was that a lot of the top deck tutors go really, really well with the Corvold or into Prismari plan, because you can set up Flash Enabler or Mana Morphos or something like this to get it into your hand with a Corvold trigger really easily, and then get to the Prismari and cast a strong Storm spell. It does this while also basically being 2 mana Vampiric Tutor that costs some amount of life, I'm aware of that, and is also a blue card. So in a way, it does like all these things like worse than other alternatives. I would much rather have Vampiric Tutor if I need a tutor. I would much rather have Vampiric Tutor if I want to do the covert thing. But Limbus Void is a blue card, and it's also the next best alternative in a way. Because it's an instant. For me, it's been better than cards like Diabolic Intent in this deck, which is still good, but it's just been much better to have a Limbus Void because of it being an instant and a blue card. And I think people are generally underrating this in 5 color, and it should be in a lot more decks than it is, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Limbus Void is a card that is very underplayed, definitely.
Yep.
Usually, well, it's in TV list, GLAR list, but those commanders are not very popular. So, in general, you don't see Limbus Void, but I completely agree. It's a super useful card, and in this list, it fits very well.
Yes.
Mana Morphos is a fantastic card. So
Yes.
If Wizard remove the hybrid mana rule, this card is gonna be played in every deck because
Yes.
it's fixed but also draw card. So basically, it's awesome. And with Prismari, I mean, oh my god! So you
Yes.
have a lot of draw,
And it's also secretly one of the best necro cards that exist.
yes,
Which
definitely.
is like unintuitive, but it like converts your necro off of 1 red pip. Like for example, let's say you have to necro with 1 mana, which is like a command tower or a soul ring or something like this. Then you can still find a line if you hit 1 spirit guide plus mana morphos flash enabler. It still works. If you hit Dark Ritual and Mana Morphos Simian Spirit Guide, it works. There's just a lot of things this card enables, both in the Necro plan and with Prismari, which is why it's really, really good in this deck. I wouldn't cut it in like a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also it's like you have the synergy with the top tutors like Mystical, Enlightened, and Vampiric. So yeah, I mean, it's a very, very good card in general. So yeah, I'm very high on Mana Morphos. Then you have counter spell, like a very classic counter spells. Silence for sure. Snapback as a bounce spell. You are not in removals. So snapback is free basically. So it's over. You can use into the float map, but basically snapback is free. So that is the advantage.
It's also another necro card in a way, because snapback offer you can't refuse is another card. Is another combo that like makes your necropotence better, which is something this deck can like struggle with, especially if someone's playing like Roxai before this. This deck is worse at necroing than Roxai or Thrasios Wild Smasher, for example. But so it needs this help. Like basically, I'm downgrading the removal from Swords to Plowshares or into the Floodmoor to Snapback, but I gain the upside of making my necro better while also still having a removal spell in that slot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other cards probably are more related with the meta of the player. I mean, if your meta is more fringe and you see more things like stacks that are not creatures or whatever, so probably you can include into the float map. But in the highly competitive, is the people do not play stack unless you are against Arkham or you are against Magda. So but you cannot win every game. So basically, it's like experience.
I want to shout out a friend of mine from the UK who is also playing this deck. He is in a meta with a lot of stacks, and he put in the card Balefire Dragon. I don't know if you've ever read that card. It's a 6-mana dragon that's a 6/6, and when it deals combat damage to a player, it deals 6 damage to all their creatures and planeswalkers, which is very funny. and usually is very unexpected for everyone, and usually solves this next problem for the rest of the game.
But that that is something cool with this commander is that
Yes.
because Wizard loves to print dragons and new dragons, it's like we can feed from that. So basically, and also we can adjust the deck with these unexpected things, but that help you with your
Yes.
meta and your
Yes.
that's crazy.
I would never play it here in Germany, where there's a lot of turbo and usually all the meta decks. I cannot play it. But if I would play against all the stacks decks, then maybe I would play it too. Who knows?
yeah, it's completely valid. Okay, in artifact, I mean, is when I see this list of artifact, it remembers me CSA. So basically, it's just the best ones: Arcane Signet, Chromox, LED, Lotus Petal, Manabot, Mox Diamond, and Solving. Yeah, so we are not high on artifact. We rely a lot in our ability to make mana with dorks, treasures, and in this case, foods. So basically, I believe that this is completely fine. Maybe, but again, it's probably because this deck, that is also a question. So when you saw in your tournament or in your practice games, what is the proportion of those that you win on your turn versus in other players' turn?
It's actually much more different than I thought. Originally, I thought that this was a deck that would mainly win on its own turn, but it's not like that, actually.
Yeah.
Usually, you win on the opponent's turn, most often in the turn right after you. Because, for example, if you that's probably the main combo that I should have explained at some point, where you attack with Scion, make it into an Ancient Copper Dragon, roll a 10 or something like this, pass the turn, and then go to their turn, and then put 2 Scion activations on the stack. The first one, grabbing Core Vault, crack all your treasures for cards. Hope you don't draw the Prismari during this. And then let the second activation resolve and get Prismari and cast, for example, Born Upon a Wind, Mana Morphose, and Drive to Win from there. So, as in times of when I win, it's usually in the first 2 turns with Necropotence, or it's turn 5, turn 6 with this Dragon combo on top of someone, or with 10 cards I've drawn from Rhystic Study, which leaves it in an interesting space where it sort of wins fast or wins slow, but it doesn't really win in the middle. Like, for example, where Tymna Crown wins the game. This deck doesn't really operate in this mid-game sort of window, which I personally find okay, but it's definitely something to keep a note of in a way.
Yeah, definitely. And that explains, for example, the absence of Wishclaw Talisman. It's an awesome tutor, but it does nothing for you if you are gonna win mostly in other player terms. So yeah, that has sense.
And it's also much worse in openers if you don't go for a turbo plan in a way, because if I get my Rhystic with a turn 1 Wishclaw, for example, it's worse because by giving someone a Wishclaw, I've also made the game much faster, because someone now gets 1 mana Demonic Tutor for free. Maybe you can make a deal, but not always. So it's a bit too inflexible of a card of why we didn't include it in the list in the end.
Yeah, definitely. So in enchantments, we have things that does not need explanation, like Mystic Remora, Necro, Rhystic Smothering, and Breach. We have copy enchantment. So in this spot, in this in this place we have basically three alternatives. That is mirror made, we have copy enchantment, and we have steel enchantment. So we can use any of those ones, but they do the same, but they have pros and cons. So I imagine that the generic 2 is a big upside. Also, it's like when you copy something and you're not stealing, basically you have less chance that it get countered. So that is one thing. The other thing is that the One Ring, that is the other good target for Mirror Maid, is something that is not played much in the meta right now. So basically, your primary target could be Necro, Rhystic for sure, and Smothering Tide. So it maybe you could have situation that you can, for example, with a value for color, copy Underworld Breach of someone else that is trying to win. But this probably is very rare. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yes. It was completely unnecessary. I was winning 50 ways, but they had a breach on the board, so I did it.
I mean, that is the things that happens, and when it happens, you say, okay, I love this game for this kind of things.
Yes.
And the other thing is the Carpet of Flowers. I mean, this is a card that I would say that is right now underplayed, but in this kind of strategy is very good because it's gonna, accelerate a lot for you. But also, I don't know if you share this with me, but Carpet also is like an stacks because the people start to fetching in a suboptimal way because they don't want to give you so much mana. So it's very unique, the effect of the Carpet in the game.
Yes. Especially, I feel like if you're not the starting player on turn 1, it's most of the time just a mana dog with haste, which is something that is way above the usual rate in a way. Like, I would definitely play Birds of Paradise with haste, for example. And Carpet usually is that, like, especially in the late game, I'm usually never like unhappy to draw Carpet, except if I'm in the non-blue board. And like, I'm ready to take some risks, like in cEDH, we've been doing that for a long time. We all run Pyroblast or Red Elemental Blast in decks, and we don't play blue every pot we face. So it's the same with Islands in a way. For me, the card has been very, very good. I cannot complain.
Yeah, definitely. And in lands, I mean, we can say that some things are, I mean, it's the classic mana base for 5 colors. Of course, you are in E-Zone because it's Flash Neighbor that is in the decks. In this deck is very important. Some things that are, not here, that some people could say, okay, so why? For example, you are not in Otawara, so
yes,
you are just in the same.
Yes. So my problem with 5-color mana bases coming from other decks like Sisei or Najila, especially Najila, it's always been very important there, has been I need my mana base to be as consistent as possible, and I need it to cast all my spells, which is basically why I've not played like a lot of lands that you could play to get some advantage, which is Shifting Woodlands, Talon Gates of Madara, Otawara, but also it's not limited to just that. It's also Taiga and Plateau that I'm not running, because a lot of these lands always end up not like they fix maybe corner of some fetch lands you might sometimes want to have, but they like ruin so many opening hands by being in the deck. Also, an example for is Gaia's Cradle. Which, like, a lot of these cards just make your openers not work that would just work with a regular land, which is why I'm basically only running, if I count correctly, 3 lands that aren't just there for producing colors. which is Ancient Tomb, Boseiju, and Emergent Zone. Because Boseiju is just great. Like it's just like if Otawara would cost 1, I would also play Otawara, but usually it does not in this deck. Ancient Tomb is just great. It's Ancient Tomb, and Emergent Zone is necessary for all the crop rotation, necropotence, shenanigans. So I think those ones are required. And I don't really like to afford playing more utility lands. You definitely could. I think the next one on the list would be Shifting Woodlands, but I think it makes the mana base a lot worse to include another one.
Definitely. And the other thing that is absent is City of Traitors.
Yes.
But again, it's like in this deck, it could be very detrimental compared to the the advantage that can give you. So I fully understand why you choose this mana base. So other thing that people maybe ask is why Tarnished and not, for example, Spire of Industry, the other rainbow that Forbidden Orchard también. So basically all those lands. I mean, this one is secure that gives you mana. You lose 3 life. So basically, this deck is not. It have necro, but it's not like a Roxila's necro. The timing of this necro is different. So basically, it's not too bad. And a Forbidden Orchard, it give a guy to any deck. So that that guy could be sacked for rituals, could be feed guy Scrabble. So basically, it have a lot of downside right now. And the other one that is a Spire of Industry, you could fall potentially in that it's not producing the mana because you are not with an artifact. So I imagine that those downsides are very, very important and need to be considered.
Yes, that's basically the reason a lot of the 5 color lands aren't here. Like, for example, also Glimmer Void or stuff like this. Because they're just too inconsistent. I think the closest one is Spire of Industry or Gemstone Mine. But I think they are both in a way, like Gemstone Mine is probably just too turbo oriented for me, I think. And also the Spire is, unlike in Tymnagraum, you have like a lot less artifacts because you have no Mox Ember, you have no Mox Opal, you have no Memnite in this deck. So it becomes a lot harder to enable it in like the first 2 turns, which is like when your pips matter the most in a way. It's like something that I noticed like just in any cEDH deck. It's like the time where your pips matter the most, to me at least, I feel like, are like the first 2 turns of the game, because then usually you after that you have enough mana sources that you have access to whatever you want to cast one way or another. But in the first 2 turns, that's not guaranteed. And that's especially where Spire of Industry is like the hardest to enable. Because unless you have Chromox, Esper Sentinel, Lotus Petal, Mox Diamond, all these cards, it's very rare that it makes colored mana on turn 1 or turn 2, which is when I need it. Which is why, for example, I'm playing Starting Town, which looks like a turbo land, but really isn't in my experience.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, so we already go through all the deck. We discussed a lot of things. I have 2 questions about 2 specific cards. One is Flashback. So Flashback, I believe it is a very interesting card for this deck, because basically it have very good synergies with a lot of these spells that you already put in the graveyard. So basically you can come back a Flusterstorm, and if you have Stormkill Artist, you can still generate the treasures and do a lot of things. And the second card is Flash Photography. that I
Yes.
see in a lot of decks, of Scion decks, but mostly in the US. So what are
Yes.
your thoughts about those two cards?
So flash photography is another card I talked to Dave a lot about. He really likes it because it can basically be a sort of flash enabler with your Prismari core thing as well. Because what happens is you cast flash photography on anything on your board, and then the storm copies can also target opponents' permanents. So if they have a flash enabler or mana or something you need in order to win the game from that spot, that can like very easily work and eliminates the downsides of only targeting your things at flash speed.
Yes.
I feel like the card by itself is not that good in the meta where I play. For me personally, the European meta always tends to be a lot faster than the US meta. The US meta is very slow, very reliant on copying and cloning Rhystic Study as much as you can, which doesn't really happen here. Like usually if you sit down at the European tournament, you get one guy playing Magda, one guy playing Roguelike Silas, and the other guy is playing Mono Green Cabbage Merchant. And there your flash photography just does nothing and you explode. So that's basically why I'm not playing the card. Because it's like a little bit too inefficient on mana. 4 mana is a lot. If I wanted that type of effect, I would think about stuff like Clever Impersonator, but I don't really like that they cost 4 mana. I think it's a little too much. Flashback, I have to say, I've not really thought about, but I can see that being interesting. The flashback is so far a card I've only really played in Ral, Monsoon Mage. It's interesting. I know Ignacy put it in his blue farm list, and I have to say I'm not really as familiar with how the card plays in like these good stuff decks yet. It's definitely something I need to try. I can imagine it's probably gonna be quite good. Especially if you cast flashback with Storm. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. I've not really thought about flashback so far. Maybe I should give that a try.
Yeah. I believe this is very interesting because it's just one red mana. That is at the beginning I thought that Snapcaster that do the same is creature, is blue, you can pitch for force, whatever. But one red mana is nothing compared to mana in cEDH. So it gives you some very weird scenarios where, for example, if you have a very tight breach line that you don't have enough cards to exile and cast a demonic tutor again, you can just use flashback and have another tutor without exile 3 cards for the casting card. So and also in this deck you can do crazy things. If you have Prismari and you already have a Storm on flashback, you can target a lot of different spells from the graveyard and recast it if you have the mana. Maybe it will depend, for example, if you don't want to recast because the card at the end are exiled because it's a flashback cost. So if you are for the breach line, maybe you don't want to do that. That is the only thing that it can be thinking about it. Because if you have 10 copies of flashback, maybe you don't have enough spells to be targeted, and you don't want to reduce the quantity of your graveyard because it's gonna affect the breach line. So I don't know. It would depend. But again, those 2 cards, it was interesting for me to ask you about if you.
I think also something I noticed with flashback recently is that I think like once I thought about it, it's pretty obvious. But also flashback and demonic consultation is just winning the game because you can demonic consultation for Dust's Oracle and flashback and then cast it again and exile the deck, which is something I've not thought about until my opponent on Blue Farm did that in round 1 of my game. Unfortunately, he did that with an Esper Sentinel on board and died. But
I mean, yeah, people forgot a lot about things. Like I have an expert sentinel, or you have, I have a fetchman, and he have a Washington and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
So, oh, oh, I see. So something very interesting is you say my meta is different from the US meta that is very slow. It's basically, and this is interesting because when I saw like this is a list that is a joint effort between different people. So we have, for example, here Abby from
Ohio.
From Ohio, from Team Monolith, and we have also Jason from
a very good
from
friend of mine.
from cEDH. So, and we have a lot of other people that I am not completely familiar with. All of them, I basically I identify these two. So this should be very interesting because basically you are doing a list with people from US that have a different meta, a different mindset probably in some things. So how this work? How you basically end in something that represent the
it's
both
a
works.
bit it's a bit cheated in a way because when for example my friend Leon, who's also on this deck list, or Riley from the UK played this list, they made their own version and changed like 3 or 4 cards. So we're not actually all playing the same list exactly because exactly of this problem, as you said. For example, my friend Lynn also played as a more turbo list with Culling Ritual and Demonic Council. Riley played one that's like more mid-range focused. The US players play Flash Photography and Shifting Woodlands, stuff like this. I just sort of wanted to make a list where everyone that contributed to the deck got mentioned because it's the same that happened with Rogishai, the Jace's list, where not everyone who is on that list plays the same deck, but they all kind of play the same idea of list, just like 5 to 6 cards different.
Yeah.
And
related with that, what are your thoughts related with the claims of ban the Rhystic Study? Because your meta is different. In your meta, Rhystic Study is a problem?
It's one of the strongest cards, yes, but it doesn't really win every game. Like maybe now that in Europe we don't do restarts in Swiss anymore, that will change. I'm not sure. I don't think much will change. But for us, it doesn't really deserve a ban. Like if I look at the top 5 players list on the new, what's it called, cEDH stats or some website like this, the best performing one of the best performing players in Europe is my friend Jay on Timna Kodama. That deck doesn't play blue, so it's a different meta here. It's a lot more common that we have a lot of decks that don't care about Rhystic Study, try to win through activations, are not blue. Rhystic Study just gets countered way more often. I think this is
that is something that and this is more related with the mindset of the European community. So because for me it's very weird when I saw some US tournament that someone is just putting the third copy of a Rhystic Study on the stack and nobody countered. So basically it's like, why? So for me, and I am agree with a tweet from Eisenhardt that say the format have a lot of different problems that contribute to slow games. So probably it's not just Rhystic. And for me, sometimes it worried me that they center just on one card, because we already saw what happened when you just ban card without an argument that is strong. We lost Dockside, we lost the fast mana, and I don't know. We could have having a bigger problem than the one that we have already. That in some part of the world, like for example Europe, is not a big problem compared to US. That is probably more related with the way that they play the game.
Yes, I think it's also an interesting argument that like I've talked to like some of the European judges about this. If the card we would all be playing would not be like Rhystic Study, but would be Hardwood Storyteller, I think we would be talking about a much different banning, not for reasons of power, but for reasons of just the game going too long when you play the card, for example. Which is, I think, a much fairer argument to Rhystic Study, and sort of what has been used on Sensei's Divining Top. I think if you want, as the like, if I were to control the format and I would want to ban Rhystic Study, that the reason I would see more than it being too powerful is it makes games go too long sometimes, especially when you have untimed finals, for example. I can see that.
Yes,
I personally don't feel that way, but it's an argument that can be.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is that, I mean, here we have some, you know, we are trying to make some modification to the rules related with the slow play, because that is at the other angle of this problem, is that in the US, I see that the people just call it in every action. So basically, it's like,
I don't know how this works.
I don't know. I mean, it's like you fetch, and it's someone saying you, oh, it's gonna fetch, I'm gonna do this or whatever, and so the slow play is the jab is intense. So maybe they need some rules that regulate that.
yes. No, but it's also it's interesting because I feel like this is a like cultural difference as well, which is just not because of the rules, but like for someone that's played both with like a lot of the US players online and played with the EU players at tournaments all the time, it's just also a different mindset. Like people in Europe are like, if you show them a counter spell on their Soul Ring, they go, oh, okay, if you want to counter this, counter it. And in the US, they would be like, no, I'm only casting this and this and this. And but like in Europe, they just go, no, you should never counter Soul Ring, whatever. Like, I don't know.
It's more like that is something that we used the last year in our circuit. That was like the same way that they play. That is like they, you know, I put a mental misstep against your Soul Ring, so the guy make an argument and you can go back, you know, like so now in this year we have the rule that if you can politic before the action. So in the moment that you put the spell in the stack with a target, it's like it's done. So basically you cannot go back. And I believe that pushes the people to learn how to play, because if not, it's like you have a coach in the table that is telling you how do everything. So that is something very toxic at the end, I believe.
Yes. It's been like that for pretty much, I think, 2 years in Europe. So I sometimes forget that this is not the case everywhere. But to me, the thing of someone casts Ad Nauseam, gets shown 3 counter spells, and then the Ad Nauseam goes back into the hand. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how does this work?
Yeah. It's like what? Yeah, we played one year with those rules, and then we realized that the games start to prolong a lot because the you know, the jab was very intense.
It's also just time consuming to do this. For example, like someone casts Necropotence, for example, the other player finds out, oh, I can't do anything, passes the priority. Next player also passes the priority. Then the fourth player goes, oh, I have this counter spell. Do you not want to cast this, or like only take 5 cards or something like this? And then they go, okay, I will not cast it. It goes back, and then they are back in their main phase, and they think again. And this just takes it's not just that the players are slow. It's also just that takes a long time and shouldn't happen on every game actually, in a way.
Yes.
Like it's fine if it happens once or twice in a game on like some crazy stack or one important piece or something, but you cannot do it on like you do it in the US on everything, where I'm like, okay, but like at some point what is happening? We're timing out from talking.
And the weird thing is that they want to ban Rhystic Study, but they find that this is okay. So that is the most crazy thing about it. So I hope that they don't, because at the end, if they is what at the end in the world split, divide communities is they basically ban things, and it's gonna repercute in everywhere. So I hope that they think they look other communities, because cEDH is not just US, it's Europe, is Latin America, is Japan. So basically, is different parts of the world. So
I'm very happy that I know that, for example, Alex Heyer is actively talking to the European TOs, for example, and I think he also talked to the Japanese TOs, but I have no info on that. But that he's actively listening to feedback from everywhere. Which is great, because Alex is always very open to hear everyone's opinion. I've also had the pleasure to talk with him a lot about cEDH so far, because as I learned, he also has German roots, which I didn't know.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Nice.
But I think they will make a decision that is well informed, both for cEDH and casual, which in a way will always be, as long as the situation is like this, will always be the main driving force between these decisions. Like if suddenly all the casual players would want the card banned, we would probably be looking at a ban tomorrow, but that's not gonna happen, I hope, because that would be just crazy.
Yeah, I hope. So so the last thing is, I saw the other day that you are not gonna have, in the Swiss at least, restarts. And when I saw that, I said to my friends, Tino is gonna be very happy, because I remember very well from the last interview that you hate that. And so you believe this is gonna change something, or you believe that it's just the beginning and it needs to be also in the tops?
I think in Top Cut it's sort of more fair in a way, because the concept of a restart works a lot better. Like, actually everyone gets to play a new game, but with the 75 minutes or 80 minutes that you had in Swiss, it didn't really work like that. If you restarted after like 50 minutes, usually Tivit was not winning. they were not winning. And I think what it also does, it removes a lot of the play pattern that I also learned this, that happened a lot here in Germany, but didn't as much in the rest of Europe, where you have the decks like the biggest perpetrator of this was Inala, where it just kept pushing, and every time you interacted with it, they tried to force a restart and go again. And it solves this issue a bit, which I think is very good, because you can't basically you don't really gain anything from drawing the game. Like, you don't get into Top Cut because you draw 3 times. Like, yes, if you already have 2 wins, sure. But you already need to have 1-2 games. But if you restart, you can still win the game, which rewards this a lot more. Which I think it's not gonna be a huge change. It's not gonna change what everyone plays, but I think it's gonna be a just nice, gentle change that like removes a lot of the toxic play patterns of, my Necro whiffed. Let's keep 7 counter spells and force a restart and then try again. It's
yeah.
And that's I think a good change.
Yeah, we test the restarts in one tournament, and we I mean, I remember that I played like 10 games in 5 rounds, so it's a lot. No, and it's a lot of people. The only happy people with the restart, I remember was the people playing Rockside.
Yes, Rockside in
So-
Rowan, like they all love
Yeah.
it. They all sit
Yeah.
there like, I get to go again, yippee!
All the other people was completely miserable. So basically, yeah. Okay, so well, this has been an hour and a little more. So we talk about this deck that, as you can see, is very fun. It's very competitive. It can match all the meta decks and can win, but also it have a lot of space for personalization. Basically, that is, you can custom this deck according to your meta, your preferences, and you can explore different things. I mean, it's a 5-color deck at the end. So thank you, Tino. This has been a very fun and interesting conversation as always. And just for finish the video. So you are planning another deck? You have plans for other commander, or you are just gonna keep in Scion for some time?
Yeah, that's the interesting question. I'm not even sure myself. I wanted to, originally, when it was spoiled, I wanted to play Nick Fury for a bit, but I chose not to when I built the Scion deck, and also Crystal, the Curiosity Commander.
Yeah.
But I think like now with the success I'm having with Scion and the recent build changes, I'm gonna stick to Scion and Kinnan, which is currently just the decks I like the most. But as to the biggest events like European Championship, I'm not yet sure if I'm gonna bring Scion or Kinnan. And I love that I can say this, because usually I was never close to playing another deck than Kinnan seriously.
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, Nick Fury, I'm not really sold on that
Yes.
guy. I mean,
yes,
I don't know. The people say these fantasies about oh no, you have Nick Fury turn 1, Mox Amber, and you can cast Esper Sentinel, and it's like, I will prefer if Nick Fury is blue and I can cast Mystic Remora. That will be completely different.
Yes.
But I don't know.
Or it's red
a
and I
little-
can cast Play of Duplication.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you, Dino. Thank you for your time. Has been a great conversation, and see you next time.
Yes. All right.
Bye. Okay.